I want to play a few clips, and you've heard some of these before, of Barack Obama making promises about his health care and your health care. And not just listening to the lies, but listen to it a little differently now. Listen to it like the President of the United States is telling me what I can keep, and put that in the context of what our country is supposed to be. The President of the United States telling you what you can keep. So in other words, even if everything he said had been true, you should be offended by it. You should be disgusted by it, because the President of the United States should have nothing to do with it. So listen to it in that context. Yes, they're flat-out lies, and he knew they were flat-out lies. He didn't care, because remember what I said. You are serving his purposes. He's not your servant, you're his servant. So we have the entire notion of our society turned on its head, and that's what's happening today. So take a listen, Mr. Producer, go right through the lot of them, starting with Cut 5. Go.
But I'm also committed to ensuring that whatever plan we design upholds three basic principles. First, the rising costs of health care must be brought down. Second, Americans must have the freedom to keep whatever doctor and health care plan they have, or to choose a new doctor or health care plan if they want it. And third, all Americans must have quality, affordable health care.
No matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or health care plan, you can keep it. If you don't have insurance, you'll finally be able to afford insurance. And everyone will have the security and stability that's missing today.
If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance. No government takeover. Nobody's changing what you've got if you're happy with it. If you are among the hundreds of millions of Americans who already have health insurance through your job, or Medicare, or Medicaid, or the VA, nothing in this plan will require you or your employer to change the coverage of the doctor you have. Let me repeat this. Nothing in our plan requires you to change what you have.
And if you already have health insurance, we will lower your premiums by $2,500 per family per year. And if you can't afford it, we will subsidize your care, and we will emphasize prevention, so we have a health care system instead of a disease care system.
If we don't pass it, here's the guarantee. Your premiums will go up. Your employers are going to load up more costs on you. Potentially, they're going to drop your coverage because they just can't afford an increase of 25, 30% in terms of the cost of providing health care to employees each and every year. And the federal government will go bankrupt because Medicare and Medicaid are on a trajectory that are unsustainable. And this actually provides us the best chance of starting to bend the cost curve on the government expenditures of Medicare and Medicaid. So anybody who says that they are concerned about the deficit, concerned about debt, concerned about loading up taxes on future generations, you have to be supportive of this health care bill, because if we don't do this, nobody argues with the fact that health care costs are going to consume the entire federal budget.
Our approach lowers the government's health care bills by reducing the cost of health care itself. Already the reforms we passed in the health care law will reduce our deficit by $1 trillion. The plan will not add to our deficit. The middle class will realize greater security, not higher taxes. And if we are able to slow the growth of health care costs by just 0.1% each year, 0.1%, it will actually reduce the deficit by $4 trillion over the long term. My proposal would bring down the cost of health care for millions. Families, businesses, and the federal government. Our cost-cutting measures mirror most of the proposals in the current Senate bill, which reduces most people's premiums and brings down our deficit by up to $1 trillion over the next 2 decades. Brings down our deficit.
All right, there's a lot more where that came from. Now, that is a damning montage of audio clips of the president damning himself after the fact with flat-out lies, serial lies, on every subject he talked about related to health care. The individual, the doctor, the cost curve, your policies, and on and on and on. Just flat-out lies. But more than that, if you listened with the ear that I suggested you listen with, to have somebody stand up there and go on and on about what you can keep, what you're going to get, what he's going to do to you and for you, and it's in every damn one of these clips, every damn one of these speeches, on and on and on. I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, have we rejected the Enlightenment? Have we rejected completely our founding? Must we now rely on one individual or a group of individuals who lie incessantly as they must? Must we rely on them for our sustenance, for our future? And now here we are, a great nation, debating a website. We don't debate the Constitution anymore. We don't talk about liberty anymore, private property rights. None of that's discussed. None of it. And when you do raise it, you're attacked. The few of us who even mention it, oh, you must be an extremist. Oh, that's just not realistic. The welfare state is, as I say, imploding and expanding at the same time, and I'm unrealistic. We've reached a point of governmental insanity. Why would we reject our heritage? Why would we reject the most magnificent coming together of individuals to create this society, this government? Why would we resist it rather than embrace it? Rather than the corrupt thinking and the corrupt actions of big centralized government. And who speaks for us? What institution speaks for us? What political party speaks for us? That's the question. As best I can tell, none of them. As best I can tell, none of them. So yes, we can, and I will in the future, as I have in the past, talk about a website. Yes, we can talk about this contractor or that contractor. Yes, we can talk about an 800 number if we want. Yes, we can go into the weeds and talk about all these things. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't come out of the weeds and breathe life back into our heritage, we're going to be stuck in the weeds, which is exactly where they want us. Let me tell you a little secret. This Obamacare is changing the lives of millions of you, millions and millions of Americans, in a miserable way, despite the propaganda coming out from the governing masterminds of the ruling class, the professional politicians and the parasites who feed off of them, telling us, it's just wonderful, 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 when you know it's not. So while you are affected in a miserable way, in a fundamental way, let me tell you who's not affected. Obama. He will get the health care the minute he needs it, when he needs it, because of who he is. So will his wife, so will his kids. Let me tell you who's not affected. Biden and his wife and his family, because he's the vice president. Let me tell you who else is unaffected by this disaster. Every member of the United States Congress and their families are unaffected because they're going to be taken care of. Let me tell you who else is unaffected. Every cabinet secretary in this administration, because they and their families are going to have access to the health care what that they believe they need when they believe they need it. And let me tell you who else is unaffected. People who can pay cash for their health care. Yes. But let me tell you who's affected in the most disastrous way. Millions and millions of you. Of you. I don't care what your party is. I don't care what your philosophy is. You. Because it is you who needs to be controlled. And we now have reached a point where we absolutely do work for the federal government. And you can hear this in Harry Reid's voice and in his message, that taxes need to go up for the rich. Ladies and gentlemen, the vast majority of you are not rich by any definition the government creates, or the IRS creates. I've talked about this before, all this class warfare stuff where the government turns one citizen against another by grouping us into these economic categories that they create. And they change all the time whenever they need to change them to rile us up and to create jealousies and so forth. So a millionaire used to earn $1 million. Today a millionaire earns $300,000. But whatever. We don't have a caste system in this country. We don't have a class system in this country. And yet they keep preaching that. And here's the bottom line. What we do have in this country is the people and the ruling class. That we do have. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. We fight Obamacare to protect our families, their well-being, so they do have access to medical care when they need it. The best care man has ever been able to provide, which is under attack. But we attack Obamacare for another reason, to preserve what sovereignty we have left as individuals, to preserve what power we have left as citizens. That's why we attack it also. I don't mean to go all philosophical in the first 45 minutes. Well, yes, I do, actually. Yes, I do, because this is bigger than another talking head coming to you going on and on about the website and who made the website and who's connected to whom and so forth and so on. We tend to lose the big picture.